Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Last week I did my top 15 remakes of all time, and today I want to talk about my top 15 remasters. And first and foremost, I was going to put Shadow of the Colossus on here, but someone pointed out a Skeptical Tile. Fantastic riff on Sceptile, by the way. Love that. Fantastic. One of my favorite commenters by far. Talked about how Shadow of the Colossus is technically a remake because it was built from the ground up. I completely forgot about that, so it would have made it on the last week's list, very high up as well. It is a phenomenal remake. Another one that I omitted that I thought about for today, and I was like, oh no, this is also a ground-up remake, is SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That would probably make it to the middle to the bottom portion of my list. I love the game. I think it's a phenomenal remake. But yeah, that one was going to be on this list, so I had to do just a little bit of adjusting right before making this. So with that out of the way, I wanted to talk about 6 games that are going to break the rules just a little bit here. I'm going to be doing some collections here because I think there's some that really deserve to be on this list. So first and foremost, let's talk about some of the PlayStation 3 HD collections, like the God of War 1 and 2, as well as the Origins collection that had the PlayStation Portable games. So you've got these that are phenomenal HD ports because they are bringing games from like the PlayStation 2 era and a console like with Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta that are locked to the PlayStation Portable onto a home console like the PlayStation 3. It's a phenomenal way to experience them as well. You don't want to miss out on the PlayStation Portable God of War games because they're fantastic. And so this is a great way to have all the PlayStation, like all the original God of War games on just the PlayStation 3. Speaking of which, we also have the Ratchet and Clank HD collection. Has 3 of the original games from the PlayStation 2 era that are all, again, really fantastic. You've got the Sly Cooper games collection that is also out of this world and great to be off of the PlayStation 2 and on the PlayStation 3, along with Sly Cooper 4, which is an excellent game all in its own right. You have the incredible Jak and Daxter series with some of the best storytelling in all of gaming. Thank you, Naughty Dog, for being so fantastic all the time. You also have let's see, I had one more, I believe. Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. So it is making an appearance on this list anyway. Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Ico being a more niche game that predated Shadow of the Colossus, but was also really excellent. And then, of course, Shadow of the Colossus getting an HD remaster for the PlayStation 3, taking them again off the PlayStation 2 and putting them on an HD console, which is fantastic. And then another one that's going to be making it on this list at technically number 10 here, since I had to do some adjusting here, is going to be the Nathan Drake collection, which takes 3 excellent titles from the PS3 and puts them on the PlayStation 4. As good as all those other titles I talked about previously are, and they could definitely be like higher up on this list, they are locked to the PlayStation 3 console, so they can only be played there, or if you have the originals on like the PlayStation 2. That's the only downside there. Since the PlayStation 3 is not compatible with any other newer console, including the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, because of its unique architecture and the just kind of a funky console to try and port over. It's hard to emulate, so we have not seen any playability of PlayStation 3 games. That's why they're a little bit lower on the list. But for number 10, we're going to have the Nathan Drake collection because the Uncharted original trilogy were phenomenal games, and they are so much fun, and I'm so happy that more people have access to these games. My biggest thing about remasters, what I love about them, is that they are more makes them more accessible for people. They can be done very wrong. They definitely can suck, but to have games like the Uncharted series or the God of War games make it onto more modern consoles is a godsend for a lot of people that don't have access to the PlayStation 3. Now you have access to some of the best games of the PlayStation 3 era. The Uncharted collection is so good. Uncharted 2 is still one of my favorite games of all time, and the original trilogy told a phenomenal story. And if you want to play Uncharted 4, you don't have access to a PlayStation 3, now you can play the original trilogy there. So that's going to be number 10 on my list. So I got 6 game collections out of the way. Let's move on to the rest of my list. The rest of these will just be single entries. I have one that's going to be like either or. It was like 2 games released at the same time or close to each other, but I won't do any more collections here. So at number 9, we're going to be talking about Okami HD. I really love Okami. It's a very sad story because this game did not sell well despite being incredibly critically acclaimed. This game has like a weird record for being like a Game of the Year winner with incredibly low sales, like the lowest sales for a Game of the Year winner of ever, which is a shame because on the PlayStation 2 and on the Wii, it really should have done a lot better. These are 2 very high-selling consoles. This game really fit the aesthetic. It's a very Zelda-esque game, has a gorgeous art style. It's just everything you'd want out of an adventure game. The latter half of the game is a little bit long, but I think people just kind of missed out. They just didn't notice this game. Now, the HD version rectifies a lot of things because it puts it on modern platforms platforms, and a lot more people bought it, finally giving it the success that it really deserved. It sold substantially better and now is hailed as this cult classic that is now a little bit more mainstream and very accessible. You can get it for sale for super cheap. Absolutely worth your time. So Okami is going to be number 9 on the list. Number 8 is going to be the BioShock HD collection. I love the original BioShock. It is top 5 or top 6 in my list of all-time greats. Has probably the best twist of any story ever told in video games. Has some phenomenal gameplay. It was groundbreaking when it came out, and still gorgeous to this day. And pack in BioShock 2, which is excellent in its own right, and BioShock Infinite, which is also phenomenal. And you have a really phenomenal, I said I wasn't going to do packages again, and here I am doing a collection. Oh no, egg on my face. I'll just go with BioShock 1 remastered here. No, we'll say the collection. I lied. Collection here as well. These games are phenomenal, a great little package of games to experience. If you're just going to go with one, if you're calling me out here, the original BioShock Remastered, far and away, one of the best games of all time. Number 7 is going to be God of War 3 Remastered. I talked about the God of War games and how phenomenal they are, but if you've played God of War 2018 and or Ragnarok, and you don't know anything about the Greek mythology, like Kratos in that and all of his older games, the Greek saga, as it were, if you never played any of those games, you might be a little bit confused about the lore. Well, God of War 3 Remastered bridges that gap for you. Now, it is great to play the original 2, but if you just play 3, you'll get a very good sense of what's going on with the story so far, and you get a nice conclusion for the Greek saga, and then you can jump right into 2018 and move forward. That's what's so good about this one. Again, the PlayStation 3, having games locked to that kind of stinks. Now, as good as God of War 3 was on the PlayStation 3, how well it ran, it was really smooth for being such a big hack and slash with tons of like enemies and big set pieces and everything. It runs so smoothly on the PlayStation 4. I think this is an excellent upgrade, and again, getting it off of a singular console and putting it into more mainstream stuff that works on multiple consoles is always a really good thing. So God of War is going to be up here on this list. Number 6 is going to be The Last of Us. For the PlayStation 4, I'm going to talk about the PlayStation 4 remastered one, not the PlayStation 5 one, primarily because I have not touched the PlayStation 5 remastered, and I don't think it was necessary. I think the PlayStation 4 one made a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. The PlayStation 3 version is phenomenal. I played the heck out of that game. It maxed out the PlayStation 3 and it ran exceptionally well, but it's buttery smooth on the PlayStation 4. And it also packed in the phenomenal Left Behind DLC and the multiplayer mode, which was like an extra $10 if you didn't get like the copy brand new and get the code for it. And that was the camp that I was in, unfortunately. So having all that packed together into one experience is really fantastic. I think it's best on the PlayStation 4. I've seen comparisons between the PlayStation 4 version and the PlayStation 5. I don't think it's substantial enough to pay an extra like 30 or 40 bucks. Just go get the old PS4 copy. Just play that one. I think it's absolutely worth your time. Number oh man, what am I on? Number 5, I think I'm finally back. My order is all mixed up because of my last minute adjustments here. Number 5 is going to be Jet Set Radio. Now, I played the original Jet Set Radio on the Dreamcast. In America, it was released as Jet Grind Radio. I don't know why they changed it for just that, because the re-releases defaulted back to Jet Set Radio. But Jet Grind Radio was so much fun on the Dreamcast. I played it as a kid, and I absolutely adored it. So when I found out they were getting HD ports to modern consoles, specifically the PlayStation Vita, I absolutely lost my mind. I was so excited. I was there day one. I was there minute one. I was waiting for this game. I had my time zones mixed up. I was like, it's coming out right now. And then I had to wait another hour. And I stayed up and I got that dang game and I played it to death. It has like modern trophy support, has much smoother controls. It works so well on the go, and having it on my Vita was such a joy. I absolutely adore this game. It's a little bit biased because it's not like a huge improvement from the original game, but since I think the original is just so phenomenal, and having it on the go especially was such a beautiful thing for me. If you've never played Jet Set Radio, you can go get it on some modern consoles here. I don't know if it's available on like the Switch. I can't remember specifically if it is, but if it is, you should go check it out. And if you have an old Vita, definitely go buy it. It's one of the best games ever. Number 4 is going to be the Thousand Year Door. Paper Mario as a franchise has gone through some rocky times. Thousand Year Door was easily its peak back on the GameCube. People loved this game. The turn-based combat was just superb. The storytelling was fantastic. The pacing was excellent. The characters and the dialogue, it just all came together to form this perfect package. People have been really wanting an experience like that ever since. Super Paper Mario, as good as it was, deviated from like the role-playing game, the turn-based combat, of RPGs and went more to an action RPG approach. And it's a good game. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the Thousand Year Door. And then Sticker Star tried to recapture the turn-based combat, but screwed us over with the sticker system that just absolutely sucks. You have Color Splash that it feels more like Super Paper Mario, but even less good than that. Then you had Origami King that looked like it was bringing back turn-based combat. Then it was some weird like grid-based combat that people got excited about. And then it was mixed afterward. It was like, as the game progressed, it just wasn't all that fun. Nothing has recaptured Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. And finally, we got a remaster that sold exceptionally well on the Nintendo Switch. It does everything that you want out of a remaster. It just looks a little bit better, it plays buttery smooth, and you get that experience, that nostalgia that you've been missing out for a very long time. For fans of the franchise, getting a game like this is just a huge joy. I felt the same way with Super Mario RPG, a game that I never thought would get a remake or a remaster of any kind. I didn't think it would ever exist again. And seeing Thousand Year Door was the same kind of thing, and it is absolutely deserving of this top spot. Number 3 is going to be Dark Souls Remastered. This one is one that benefits mostly from the remaster specifically, because Dark Souls was already a phenomenal experience on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. But one major issue was the frame rate, especially in Blight Town. I think the PlayStation 3 version was worse than the Xbox 360, but both really suffered when it came to this absolute hellhole, because the frame rate just absolutely died getting down here. You could get down to, I believe it was down to 6 frames per second in the original launch version, which is absolutely insane. It just chugged so hard. And I don't know what it was about Blight Town specifically, but it just did not work on those consoles. The HD remaster, it's not HD. The remastered version just goes a long way to smooth out all of the problems that the original Dark Souls had. Everything is much smoother experience, and the fact that they got it on the Switch, running even better than it did on the PlayStation 3, despite being comparable hardware, is a really fantastic thing. I played it on the Switch personally. I had a really phenomenal time. That was my introduction to the Dark Souls franchise. I'd played Bloodborne before, and I wanted to get into Dark Souls. Remastered is such a phenomenal way to play it. This one benefits, again, most from being these upgraded visuals and having better hardware that takes advantage of better frame rates and such. Now, number 2 is going to be Wind Waker HD. This is one where you could sub in Twilight Princess, and I think that would be absolutely fair. But for my money, Wind Waker is one of the best video games of all time. It's my second favorite Zelda game, and if it weren't for Link to the Past existing, I think Wind Waker would be my favorite video game ever made. It would be my number 1. I absolutely adore it in its original state. I've played it and beaten it on the GameCube probably 4 or 5 times now. I beat it as a kid. I'm aware of the problems. I know sailing wasn't super great. Sometimes it would take a very long time. I kind of liked the isolationist thing and the beautiful score in the background. I love traveling between places, but it can definitely chug on in the early game. And the late game fetch quests are absolutely long. I just recently refinished this game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fetch quest aspect of it, getting all the Triforce pieces, but it can be a slog, especially getting all the charts first, and then going to Tingle, getting to Decipher, then finding this thing. It's a lot to do. And the HD version really honestly smooths out everything that you could have a problem with in this game. It not only improves the visuals, making them even better than they already were. They already aged so well, but they upgraded them. The UI looks much better. Sailing is faster. That fetch quest at the end is substantially shorter and easier to accomplish. It just makes an already phenomenal 10 out of 10 game somehow even better, and that is just a beautiful thing. The only thing that would make this better if it was on the Switch. Like, one of the few games that I thought they'd port over. I'm guessing they're probably saving that and Twilight Princess for the Switch too at this point, because man, I would love to play it on the Switch on the go. But let's go on to number 1, which is going to be Metroid Prime Remastered. Now, everything I said about Wind Waker, I guess not every single thing, but everything about what makes Wind Waker a good remaster, they also did with Metroid Prime. Taking a 10 out of 10 experience, a game that I absolutely adore, in my top 5 of all time, and just made it even better, making the controls more smooth, making everything look better. It just makes this perfect package a shining perfect package. Everything that I remember about this game and how much I loved it when I first played it, I get that exact experience on the Switch. It's how I remember playing the game. I know the original game wasn't as smooth as the Switch experience. I know it didn't have the twin stick nearly as great controls and locking onto enemies and everything, camera controls. I know it didn't have that in the original game, but that's how I remember it being. And so playing it on the Switch is like playing the original game with rose-tinted glasses. They did this remaster absolutely perfectly. It captures all the nostalgia and updates things without making it super noticeable. They just gave it some more modern conventions and gave you everything that you would want from a remaster. This is easily the best remaster I've ever played. I don't think that that's an unpopular opinion either. I've seen so many people online just say that this is easily the best remaster that's ever been made. And it makes me want a Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remaster even more now. So please, Nintendo, please get on it. Oh my goodness, I want it so badly. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below what ones I missed. There are tons of remasters out there. I would love to hear from you what your favorites are. I think I will do a follow-up to this list with the worst remasters because there definitely are some stinkers out there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.